What's up, guys? Have you encountered this particular problem where you are plugging away creating this amazing web page, and in that web page you have a user entry and you think the user is not gonna make any mistakes? So for example, you have an email address, he's not gonna just put in the numbers and hit enter. Have you ever thought about that? Or if you haven't, then you should. Because guess what happened? One of the things that us web developers we need to encounter is, or keep in mind when we are building our web application, is to validate our form entries. Without that, we are gonna have some garbage data that we cannot use it anymore. So for example, in the email address, if you don't have a proper email, formatted email, you cannot use that later on in your process. So this is what we're going to talk about today: how to properly, accurately, and more importantly, efficiently and fast validate your form entries. So without any further ado, let's get this ball rolling and get this party started. And don't worry, I got you covered. I'm going to leave a link in the description for you to get the code. Just so if you're like me, lazy, you don't want to type it all the way, cut, copy, paste into your project and you will be all set. So let's get right into this bad boy. So let me switch over. All right, so this is our standard form entry for the validation. We got the text field, we got the number field, we got the URL field, we got the email checkbox, select password, pretty much all the different types of data entry point you would need in your application. So in hypothetically speaking, in an ideal world, when we are creating a form, and when I was creating it in the beginning of my years, I always thought, I'm creating this damn thing and people are just gonna enter it because they're good users. They're just gonna enter. If it says username, they're gonna enter the name. If it says email, they're gonna enter the email. And later on, in years and years of dealing with this, I found out that is not the case. People make a lot of mistakes when entering data in there. So what we need to do as a web developers to make sure the entries are accurately where they need to be. So we have this form. If we fill nothing else out, it should show a alert underneath with the text saying that, hey, you need to fill this out. And then when this particular field is filled out, then that particular alert should go away. So let's practice this in its existence. So I'm gonna click on submit without doing anything or inputting anything. Boom, there we go. Now we have all these alerts, messages underneath it appropriately. And then if I start to type it in there, because this is the text form, which means I can type in the numbers, letters, sign, dollar sign, whatever, it will all work. So I'm gonna put, let's just say 1, 2, 3, and that particular number underneath this particular text form, the alert went away. So if I hit backspace, oh my goodness, there's empty. I need to fill that in. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna do that. And if I try to put in letters in here, the alert will not go away because this particular field is required to have numbers only. So, all right, go away. I don't want this. So I'm gonna delete all this and put in numbers. 1, and there we go. So let's move on, learn how to build this thing first. I will show you. Second, I will give you the code so you can easily implement this into your own project. And you know, your boy Mark loves jQuery. So I built this in jQuery. However, you can use the code. And if you know just a little bit of JavaScript, plain vanilla JavaScript, you can easily implement that in there. But if you're like me, a jQuery lover, this is gonna make your life a whole lot easier. So let me just show you. So let's go over here. So this is the code, all one page, and don't worry, I will leave a link in the description for you to download it. So let's start off with our HTML. Let me zoom it in a little bit. So that way it's a little big enough for you. I don't know what's not enough. Let's go this way. Okay, there we go. So we have a regular container. which is I'm using a Bootstrap, by the way, in case you're wondering, but you could use any kind of CSS. And then we have our div. This is a form. And then here we have a container for our input. And I'm not going to go too much into explaining about how to build your standard HTML input field along with the form, yada, yada, yada. So I will go over just two of these, but the rest is pretty much rinse and repeat. So not a lot going on here. So here we go. So we have a form. Within the form, we have a div container, which has a class of group. And then we have a label, nothing special there. And then we have the input field, where the input is text, and then the control is this is just a regular Bootstrap. And this is where I have pretty much used this ID as a driven what it will do in terms of validation. So this I put it to be, hey, anywhere in here, if it's the text, a user can enter numbers, letters, dollar sign, explanation, blah, 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 right? And then same thing for this one, ID represented by the number. That means only numbers will be accepted. Everything else will be non-accepted, right? So let's move on. Same thing for URL, same thing for email. And then for right over here, checkbox is same thing. You get the picture, right? You get to see it, right? So select, guess what? Just a select, and it's simple as that. And password is password. And then we have the submit button, and let's hop on over up top to the jQuery side of things, and you will see it all makes sense. And let's go all the way up. So we have a Bootstrap here, we have jQuery, and at the very top, we're opening jQuery by saying, hey, if the document is ready, which means the page is fully loaded. So what the hell does that mean, Mark? Which means, let me put this in a design view over here, inspection view. So if I refresh it, which means all of this has been shown to the user and it has been loaded. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's about, take my word for it, 142 milliseconds it took to load this up, right? So once this page is loaded, which means we can see this, and basically everything on here, we can see it. Then we're gonna go and run the jQuery. And if you never use this code, oh my God, this is gonna literally make your life a whole lot easier. So what the hell is that, Mark? So let's say, for example, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go to the source code in case you didn't catch what I just did. I'm gonna go over here, right click, view source, page source, right? Not source page. View source code, we call it. And in here, if I look at it, I have underneath the title just these two line of code. You're like, okay, whoopity doo, who cares, whatever, but you got the rest of the JavaScript, right? However, let me just show you this. You will love this. If I right click here, click on inspect, and then go to this section under the element, and then open up the header, and then guess what happened? Yes, we have two lines of code, which is the Bootstrap as well as jQuery. And then we have our JavaScript right here. Fine. But it dynamically also loaded these two classes. Now imagine that if you have a plugin that you don't want to have it load when the page loads up, but you want to do it later on during your code, you can do this. And that is exactly the code right over here. So you put this is the object. You can call this whatever the hell you want, right? It's up to you. And then within this two things here, you can put your whole CSS code. And then what it will do is it could be 1 line, 2 lines, million lines, whatever, right? You just put it here. And then you use this, say, hey, go create an element here, and then you're gonna assign this and the text being this code right here. So, and then we're gonna append it to the header. So all of this becomes a inline CSS, but it is dynamic. We can load this anytime throughout our application. Now, if you're like me, you're like, holy crap, I can use the hell out of this thing. And you should, because it's amazing. I use it all the time. So your page, so what does that mean if you do it dynamically, right? That means your website or web page will load up a lot faster, which means it doesn't have to wait for this thing to load up, which is not a whole lot. But the point being is that once you apply this framework, you can dynamically load up content, which will significantly increase your page load time. All right, enough with that. Let's move on. So here we are with this. Next part is the validation function, where we're going to run this. But before I do that, let's go down until we see the submit button. So anytime. So let me just put this side by side right here. Make it easier, I guess. And then we can walk through it. Here, right there, right there, right here. And we'll just go maybe right here. Okay. I hope that is big enough. Maybe not. I'll make this over here. And this over here. Come on. There we go. Okay. So hopefully that's good enough. Okay. Okay. So here it is. So anytime we click this button, which is submit button right here, the blue one, this event will kick, which is the submit button, right? The very first thing what it's going to do, and I will go through all of them and then we'll deep dive into each one of these things. So the very first thing what it's going to do is going to validate the first field, which is your text, and it's going to go through this function. Go do that. And as I go through it, you'll start to see the theme. It's pretty much rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And you're like, Mark, this is very simple. That's the whole point. It's supposed to be simple. You just use what you want and throw out what you don't want. And that's that. So we have validate text, then we have validate number, URL, and you guessed it, email, check, select, password. And once all that's done, and then you could run your code here to say, do something else, right? So let's go all the way up and we'll go with validate text, this particular function, and which will be right here. So now I'm just gonna make this minimize and maximize this, make it easier, I guess. So in here, validate text, we're gonna take the value, and just to show you, this is how we get the value. Let's go back here. Sorry, I know I'm going all back and forward. So here it is. Submit the button, get the input, which is right here, which is the text. Remember, we set an ID, and then we're going to pass this in here, and then we go all the way up, all the way up, right here. So it takes the input, it's going to grab the value, and this is the JavaScript function of getting a, I mean, not JavaScript function, rather a jQuery function getting it, and then it's going to trim it just to see if it has anything or it doesn't. And then if it does not have anything, which means it's just blank, it's gonna show this, which is a alert. And then it's gonna take this input, which is the ID, and show this message and add this particular alert class. That's right, which is right over here. So let's see what the display alert message function looks like. We're gonna go all the way here. And I know it may seem a little confusing here, but trust me, when you get this, you use it, you'll be like, man, this is so easy. All right. So this is the element, which is your ID. It's gonna grab the ID. And then it's gonna say, hey, whatever the element is, add this particular class to it. And then if it already has a particular alert showing, then hide that, which is right above here. Actually, it's underneath here. So what that does is grabs this ID, hides it, removes it, and that's that. And if it does not, then it will create a new one rather than if it already has alert and I push the submit button again, then it's gonna add another one and another one and another one. And just to show you what that means. So I'm just gonna comment this out, save it, go back here. Let's reload this, reload the page. Oh no, we got this. So one of each. And then we go, there we go. So you see, it keeps on adding it, adding it, adding it, adding it, and keeps on adding, 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 and we don't want that, right? So what we want to do is we want to remove the previous one or the old one just so we can add the new one in there. So this is done by hiding this particular alert. So if I go back now and refresh it, I'm going to push it once and then go down, push it twice, thrice, 4 times, 9 times, whatever, is always going to have one, right? So that's what this does. And then it's going to add this new one. It's going to take a div, add alert, which is this, add a class, which is this, and the message, which is right here that we passed it along, the class and the message right here. So let's go all the way up, right over here. So this literally, that's what it does. So if it has nothing, it's going to show this and return false. However, if it has something, it's going to hide the alert for that particular field. In this case, it's the text field. Let's go down to the next one, which is the number field. Once again, same concept. You will see it's rinse and repeat. Same thing over and over and over. And I did this for a reason. If you know the reason, let me know in the comments so that way I can tell you whether it's correct or not, or other people have it. Or if you know a better way to do it, also leave it in the comment. Let me know. All right, so let's move on. So we have our value, which is just the value for this number ID. And if it's null or not, if it's not, it doesn't have anything, or if it's not a number, it's going to show this. However, if it has a number, it's going to hide it and make it a go to return, which means is we're good to go. Same thing for the URL. There you go. The value is this. We're going to validate just to make sure it has a proper URL, which means it has HTTP or HTTP. Now it's all HTTPS, so that's that. And then colon followed by 2 slashes and then followed by domain ID and all that stuff. If it matches, if it doesn't matches, then show the alert. If it matches, then we're good. Moving on. An email address, same thing. Make sure this pattern matches. It has the user ID, @ and then the domain, like for example, gmail.com, yahoo.com, things in that nature. All right. So if it does not, it's going to show this thing and move on. And then same thing for this one. In this case, we're saying, hey, is the checkbox checked on or not? If it's not, then you show this alert. So what does that mean? So I have this here. So let me just refresh this. So this is a checkbox. I'm going to click the submit button. Oh no, you didn't check this crap right here. See, we got this checkbox message thing. As soon as we checked it on, boom, and that message goes away. And that is what's happening here. And then we're followed by the select, if it's selected or not, which means this right here. If it's not anything, it should show the message. And that's that. And then followed by the password. It needs to be minimum of 6 characters. All right. And that's that. And then we're filing with that. And then everything's said and done. We're good to go. And then we can say this is great. So let me just fill this out real quick. Blah, blah, blah. One URL. I don't know. Just go to HTTP code with mark.com. Email is at gmail.com. As you can see, as I type it, it goes away. So let's take a look at those functions. These are right here. So after the form is submitted, everything is good. But as I'm typing, right over here. So every time I put in anything in the text field on key up, which means I push the key, and then when my finger goes up, this is going to fire this up. and it's going to add this function and validate it. If it validates it, hides the message. If it doesn't, it's going to show the message. So same thing here, right? Very simple, very, very simple. So in here, password. So for example, it says at least 6 characters long. So I'm going to put 1 stays there, 2 stays there, 3 stays there, 4, 5 stays there, 6. As soon as I hit the 6th digit, it goes away. Perfect. And that's how we can just say submit it. And after that, obviously, right, you could do whatever you want with it. All right, so I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you're like me, you're lazy, you don't want to type all that crap in, I will leave a link in the description for you to the code. And if you found this helpful, make sure you, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up, and also leave a comment in below. Let me know what you think of it and what I can do to improve it, or if there's a way you know better, you can put in the comments that it can improve so that you can help the community out as well. So, as I always said, happy coding. I'll catch you on the next one.